subscribe.
Holding on together.
Welcome to the Angry Ops Guy podcast. I've been incognito for a bit, but I have got another massive guest after Jack Porter Smith. I've got Eric Cook here today, one of our most tenured ICs in the WSI network, extremely successful, heavily focused on the banking sector, and one of my honestly longest WSI friends up there with Chris Murray and Laurie McCullough out of WSI Montreal. Eric was one of those first people that really allowed me to kind of have like a big brother. So I want to say hello, Eric. What's going on, big guy?
Thank you for the very nice intro, which is normally not the way we communicate with one another on private messaging channels. But
well, that was a lot more respectful and nice than Jack when I tried to just beef up his already huge head, and he's like, "Well, that was shit." I'm like, "Okay, well, thanks." Difference of personalities, I'm telling you. But you are, let's start right there though, buddy. Like, I've been wanting to have you on forever, and just, time and logistics, and we're going to talk about how much traveling you do and how much speaking you do. But let's just start with that big brother thing. Is it important to kind of understand, you are one of my eldest friends, and I mean that in the most respectful way. Like, when I was 25 years old, Peter's dragging me to WSI events, and I'm like, who's going to want to talk to this fat clown? And here comes the big guy lurch out of the corner.
I do remember you. You had that big red fuzzy wig and the puffy red nose with all the makeup on, and I said that. I said, "Who is this clown coming out of?" Yeah. You drinking your milk? You getting your calcium?
Pure protein, bro.
Nice.
Gonna offset all the calories I ate last night.
Well, you don't have an excuse. It wasn't Thanksgiving for you. It was for us. So yeah, I have not eaten anything today. Nor will I probably until later this evening.
When you go I'm just going to go out, it's beginning of December. I'm just going to go out and do, 40 kilometers or, US people, I'm going to do 40 miles, just a brisk, cycle around the block.
Yeah, so we might as well get this out of the way here just to start. So I have not been on the bike or doing anything physically active since August.
I'm sorry you told me this, but let's
share
what happened to you.
I've been uncharacteristically mortal, and I say that tongue in cheek. I was on a rampage travel tour. I drove the RV towing the Jeep from Michigan over the Upper Peninsula down to Madison, Wisconsin, where I teach at the Graduate School of Banking, and dropped the RV off at Camping World, took the Jeep into Madison, did my teaching. And then I made an arrangement with the fine folks at the Arkansas Bankers Association to pop down and do their senior management seminar. And so I had my good buddy who teaches there as well. His wife came in for the 2-week period. She dropped me off at the airport, flew to Chicago, where I, for whatever reason, call it absent-minded on my part or scheduling, but missed my flight down to Springfield, Missouri in Chicago, and needed to be in Branson the next morning. And this is, so rented a car, got on the road at 9 p.m., drove straight through, which I probably shouldn't have. I'm lucky. Thank God for auto lane correction and contextually aware cruise control.
Those rumble strips are great when you wake up before you hit.
They are amazing. I'm super happy for that. So got to Branson at 6 a.m, took a quick shower, set my alarm, 10-minute cat nap, and dare say crushed my presentation. So it was awesome. And everybody found out that I drove straight through, which earned me some brownie points. The next part of the story, I drove back up to Springfield, flew to Dallas, where I was connecting back up to Madison, And my flight was delayed. And I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to miss another flight on this trip. Still hadn't slept. Was running through the airport trying to get to my flight to Madison, and felt a popping sensation in gate C and went down full sprint with my backpack and satchel bag. All I heard were people like, "Oh my God, get an ambulance, blah, blah, blah." So totally turned into a gimp at that point. Long story short, after an MRI, that was my hamstring snapping from my body and retracted 5.4 centimeters. There, see, I'm giving you the metric because that's what it said in the report. Met with a surgeon and said there might be the possibility that scar tissue will form sufficient that you may not need surgery, because if you do need surgery, we slice your butt open and you'll have a 6-inch scar on your cheek. And, you probably already know this, but, I'm Brad Pitt's butt double in movies, so that would ruin that career for me. You were supposed to laugh at that, by the
No.
way. Yeah, you can totally see it, can't you?
I was just coming up with something much cruder to say back to you. Like, can I be in the operating room when you're there? But
Yeah. So
no.
anyway, met with my doctor surgeon last week, and she said I'm good to go. So I'm going to
Good.
start PT. I've already been on the bike 3 times.
You're
I
just
do not
itching,
like the feeling
to
of
get back into
pedaling.
your routine, eh?
I can get back into my routine, but
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that I can't get on the bike and ride 40 miles, because if I get on the bike and I ride 10 miles, I'm like, because I've done 0 cardio for the last several months. So it's good to be back. Those of you that are listening, if you are not doing something exercise related, it's an awesome stress reliever. My wife is really excited about me getting back on the bicycle because
100%.
maybe I'll be a nicer person. But it is definitely something that I've missed, and it's a coping skill, and it's definitely a stress reducer. And when we go to convention, you are one of the people that I see in the workout room at 5 a.m. There's not a lot of us, but we're there and we're doing it, and we know that it's important to take care of ourselves, or we can't take care of anybody else. So I'm really excited that I was not going to have surgery, and just really makes you appreciative for having mobility and health. And when it gets taken away for whatever reason, it really sucks. So I'm thankful to be on the mend. And even though I'm gassed like someone that's never ridden a bike before, I'm hopeful that the fitness will bounce back quickly. So we'll
You should
keep
have
our
seen me walking up the stairs here to come and record this with you. I was out of breath. I was like, holy shit. And I go to the gym. I go to the gym 5 days a week. What's my issue? Doritos.
Oh, yeah, but you could probably lift way more. I know you do a ton of weight work, and that's not something that I do a lot of, and that's going to change as well. So, but
Do you think, it's such a freak accident that happened there? When you told me that, a month back when we caught up, when we were supposed to record this and I bailed because I was a crybaby. That's a story for another day. But when
I'm
you
not going
told
to
me,
take that.
I've had some time to think about it, and obviously haven't talked to you, and I'm so thrilled that you're getting back to, Eric. But do you think it's in a weird way kind of like life or whatever telling you to slow down? Because you have been on a tear
Yeah.
for the last year especially, and this is where I'm going to toot your horn a little bit and mix in some things about you and so forth. But you won Agency of the Year at the WSI Global Convention in Mexico, which is roughly about a year ago, okay, give or take. You've won other highly praised recognitions, whether it's in banking or others, multiple awards. So your agency has just kind of skyrocketed with performance and recognition and so forth. And you're speaking. You've always been big into speaking. This is one of the things I marvel at you is,
Yeah.
again, when I was a kid, you're the MC at our global convention, like big floral shirt, loud, but that's your personality, right? So speaking for you is a big thing, but it just seems like even that story, you are running airport to airport, filling up the passport kind of thing. Like, Do you think this was kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
it's kind of a blessing. I got to slow down a little bit because I
Yeah.
can't keep this pace up?
As I was on my way to the emergency room in Madison at 12:30 in the morning after the plane landed, and I could barely walk to the Uber pickup, I was thinking to myself, there is nobody in the world, literally, that knows I'm on the way to the emergency room to go to the hospital to have them look at my hip. And I have no idea if I broke my hip, if I did cartilage
At this
damage.
point, you have no idea what's actually happened other
I
than
have no
ow.
clue. All I
Yeah.
did, I got to the gate and the gate agent, I got up after I went down. And if you've ever seen the Michael Jackson Thriller video when the zombies come out and they're kind of like walking, that's how I looked when I was, and somebody was like trying to hold me up, and I'm like, I got to get to the gate. I got to get to the gate. And luckily the plane was delayed because of all things, they were waiting for a trash can. So thank God the plane was delayed, or they'd have been gone and it would have been all for naught. The gate agent was like, "Do you need medical attention?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And then I sat down, and the flight attendant was like, "Do you need medical attention?" I'm like, "Can you just bring me a bag of ice to sit on?" I probably should not have gotten on that plane.
No,
In hindsight, I could have had internal bleeding. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, but
we
it
can
was
laugh
2
about it
hours.
now though, because we're okay.
But we're okay. Everything worked out perfect. But as I was going to the hospital, I was thinking to myself, should I call my wife? Because it's 12:30 Madison time, 1:30 back in Michigan. Do I wake her up? Do I tell her? Do I not? Do I what? And I'm probably not thinking straight because I'm injured. I haven't had sleep in 48 hours. I'm basically running on adrenaline. Um, and I called her in the next morning on my way to go get the RV and the Jeep. And I said, I just want you to know I'm okay. And she's like, afterwards, like, I always know when you start a conversation with, I'm okay, but, and she came back and she's like, honestly, I thought you were going to tell me you either had a nervous breakdown or a panic attack. And she said, this is probably the universe telling you to slow the F down.
Yep.
And I said, you're probably right. And of course I had booked a campsite for the weekend down in Illinois with a bunch of mountain bike trails because I was doing a boot camp for AI marketing folks and then a marketing seminar the next week, which I still was able to do. But I hung out at the campsite, sat on bags of ice, just kind of limped around. But it definitely was one of those like, all right, you really need to pay attention to what you're committing to, and your body can only do so much. And I do think it was one of those, all right, here's a wake up call. And if you don't listen to me the next time, it's not going to be so good. This
Yeah.
is a minor interruption. I actually had a trip planned for next week, first week of December, depending on when this drops. It was an event that I was looking forward to, but I backed out and I decided I was not going to go and stayed home. And Alicia was very surprised that I made that decision, but I don't have any travel planned until mid-January now. So
Good
I'm
for
home
you.
for the holidays, get caught up on stuff. Doesn't mean I'm still not, doing a ton, but I'm not going to have to get in an airport. I'm not going to have to drive anywhere. And, I'm hearing the signs, I'm 55. I get it. I'm not a young whippersnapper anymore,
You are though, buddy. Like you
but,
say that. I've been telling you this for years. 'Cause again, I've known you for 15 plus years. You don't look your age, but that's a credit to your
and I
lifestyle.
certainly
And
don't act my age either.
no,
So
Christ,
that's the
why do
other
you think
thing.
me and you were friends? It's like two idiots. And then our stepbrother Jack Porter Smith, and it's what a trio of it's Three Stooges.
Yeah, exactly.
Can
Exactly.
you imagine the damage me and you and him could do if we had a panel? Like we just slaughter.
That would be pretty epic.
Well, no, hold on. Let me rephrase. I would be slaughtered because I would be in the middle, and then you'd be from the left, and he'd be from the right, and right away be like, "Let's talk about operations." He's like, "Yeah, fatty, let's talk about it." I'm like, "Thanks, Jack." Oh, Jackie boy, shout
Oh,
out
too
Jack.
funny.
But it's funny you talk about the universe because we were supposed to record over a month ago, and
Yeah.
I canceled on you in like 20 minutes before the thing because universe was telling me in different ways. I didn't tear a hamstring, but it was telling me you don't have what it takes to be sharp right now. And that was pretty humbling for me because I don't like to show a lot of weakness, even though you say like, I got you figured out, you're a teddy bear, but I don't like letting people down. And it's like, we have been ramping that up for a couple of months of just because,
Yep.
again, you've been so busy. You don't know about your hamstring, don't know about work. Me and Eric don't talk a ton through the year. Sadly, it's quick
We
jabs on
should.
WhatsApp. We
We should.
should, but
But yeah.
it's simply the respect of knowing you're freaking busy. Like Christ, I don't see you on Work Vivo. I don't see you on other stuff because you're traveling, you're working, you're hustling. Like that's
Hey,
your
I
vibe,
showed
man.
up as a giant Thanksgiving Day balloon on Work Vivo yesterday, pulled by a bunch of golden retrievers. So I am there. It just might just be a virtual version of me.
Can I just tell you with my randomness, which I have medication for now too, by the way.
Squirrel.
I absolutely love your two dogs. I think that's one of our initial bonding moments was sitting in a hotel lobby bar in like Boca Raton with you and Alicia. This is
Oh
going
yeah.
back 2013 and just talking about dogs and
Dogs are
seeing
awesome.
your two girls, older now, but what a set of beauties.
Yep.
Because
12 and 8.
we have dog kids too, and they are the absolute best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Good
I
man.
think to put a bow on this somewhat sobering segment, but it's listen to yourself and realize that you need to take care of you. And, the universe tore my hamstring and gave me a wake up call. The universe gave you a little mental kick in the teeth and gave you a wake up call. And we both listened. I think we kind of had to, but we both listened. This business can be stressful as shit because the internet never sleeps. The world is
Can we
constantly
get into that
changing.
though, Eric? That point is like, why? I'm fascinated by this because I don't see a lot of digital marketers, and I'll just position as digital marketers. But let's call it agency life. Okay,
Yeah.
that includes ICs, franchise owners, but
Yep.
and full agency. But like, not a lot of happy people. You know what I mean? And it's not that they're not happy about what they do. It's like you said, that burnout or that fatigue of
Yeah.
that accessibility of the internet. It just so many people are realizing it's harming their ability to be creative and to keep up, like you say. Why do you think that is from your perspective, being proportionally
Yeah.
older than I am, but seeing the industry and technology maybe change with more years?
Yeah. So I know this is the Angry Ops Guy podcast,
I'm not angry.
but I do think that I'm happy. I do love what I do, or I wouldn't do it. I'm going into my 19th year. I started in 07. And I know that it is stressful and I get that. We've got over 50 bank websites that we're responsible for. And every bank website, I think I calculated it just the other day. That's almost 92, like, no, 52, almost $52 billion in assets in the banking industry that is trusting us to keep their website alive because their customers require that website to be able to get access to their accounts, to apply for loans, to get information about products and services and rates. And if that falls down, that's a big deal. And we had a situation, I joked AWS went down.
Yeah.
And I sent Mark, our director of technology, a little note. I'm like, hey, AWS is down. Azure's not. Should we send a little reminder to our customers to say, hey, good thing you're not on AWS. Azure's up and running. And he sent me back a note and he goes, did you seriously just say that out loud? You totally jinxed us. And wouldn't you believe it? The Azure ecosystem, Azure front door, somebody loaded a bad config file and took the system down for 6 hours the very next week.
Karma.
Yeah, exactly. Bit me right in the ass.
See, and this is why visionaries should not make statements when integrators are in the background getting very angry. This is why we're angry.
Exactly. The thing was, we did a really good job of communicating to our customers. Mark did a really good job. I was off site at a conference, had do not disturb. I was teaching the entire day. And Mark did a really good job through our status page of keeping everybody updated. And I think the fact that AWS went down and made global news, and it took down, it took down social media sites, it took down
Yep.
shopping sites, it took down a lot of AI sites. People realized that, there's a saying in the banking industry, too big to fail, where there were some really big banks that actually failed. That is no longer a comfort place that people can assume that just because you're with a big bank doesn't mean that they can't have a problem. Just because you're with a big tech partner doesn't mean they can't have a problem. Nothing is infallible in the age of technology. And so when Azure went down, we were just communicating to the best of our ability to make sure people knew what was going on and sharing information and just being transparent so people knew what the situation was. And we didn't get hardly any backlash from our clients. And the very next week, Cloudflare went down.
Yeah.
So it's like, boom, boom, boom.
Communication is the key, Eric. Communication is the key. We have talked so much
Yeah.
about this when we used to talk about suppliers back in the day, me
Yep.
and you.
Yep.
It comes down to communication. There are going to be issues. What customers or suppliers or even
Absolutely.
agencies don't want is, why am I calling you to ask what's wrong? If you can bring the game proactively to them saying there is an issue, it's at the
Yeah.
main pipe, it's not part of our service, it's the intermediary or whatever, people will understand that shit happens.
Yep.
It's
So
the
having
why
some
do
sort
I
of
have
an
to bring it to
easy-
you
yeah.
guys when I pay you to navigate it?
Yeah. And that further inspired me to, and I can't remember even what sent me off on this tangent, but as I was driving to one of my events or on my way to or from the airport or whatever, I had the idea of, there's probably a blog post in here. It's ironic and I don't want to say it's funny, but it's ironic that I made the comment to Mark about, Azure's not down, but AWS is. Should we tell our customers, and how I jinxed? We wrote a blog post about it and said, nobody's perfect. And you've got to have some sort of a crisis plan. And it could be, so the first, and it actually turned into a 2-part series. The first was, what have we seen? What do we do? What happens if your website goes down in the banking industry? Customers also have access to mobile banking through a separate app, which is different than the website. So I think that was also a reason why, at least in our industry, it wasn't a huge deal, because if somebody wanted to get access to their account information, they could use the app on their phone. It wasn't the only entry point on the website that was available to them. So they had options. In hindsight, banks could be doing maybe a better job of promoting the fact that, hey, download our app, get our app. You've got telephone banking. We've got other ways that we can serve you, just like there's other things that we can do. And then that spawned another idea for an article about, what does an organization need to do from a crisis plan? How do they deal with it? It could be your website. It could be somebody did an AI deep fake of your CEO saying something that's completely off brand or incorrect. Could be a reputational issue on social media or a PR nightmare, or in the banking's case, worst case scenario is a bank robbery. What do you do to recover that? And I still remember all of the steps that are incorporated with, what do you do if your bank gets robbed? How do you address that? There was a very comprehensive protocol that we had to follow. The only time our bank was ever robbed, I was actually on vacation. And when my technology director called me, I could tell just by the tone of her voice something bad had happened. And nobody was hurt. The guy walked in, walked back out. Everybody did exactly as they should. But it was a very traumatic experience. And so when stuff like that happens, we as agency owners need to first go, okay, what could we have done better? What could we have done differently? Is there any areas where we could improve, or is there a service that we could bring in, or how could we have prevented this in the future? Because anytime something goes sideways, it's usually, oh shit, I've never seen that before. And then it's like, is this something that we need to plan for, or is it something that maybe is
Well,
just
and you have it even more so on your side because of the risk assessment in the financial sector versus a B2C website that facilitates just marketing and traffic, for example.
Exactly.
But the key thing with you especially, which is heightened, but this is applicable to any agency, is you've got to learn from whatever happened and you have to try proactively to invest or to correct and make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, it can't be a guarantee, like you said, 100%. I've fixed it, I've patched it, but you have to make, because if that happens 2 more times in the same week, the same day, then the integrity and the reputation of your agency and how much you've built, knowing like we can do this stuff and monitor it and protect it or proactively at a level. So the big thing is have humility and have vulnerability to say this happened and be transparent about it. Don't hide it. They'll figure it out. But prove to the end customer that you're proactively working to mitigate these factors moving forward if you can put walls and security in place, because cybersecurity is a whole other topic, man. And you see it at such a level that's heightened because of what you do versus what we do. Like, I couldn't do what you do, and I'm not trying to be funny. I don't have the mental strength of the risk protection of your thing. It's like I have many friends that work in cybersecurity. Couldn't do it. I'd blow my brains out with just the fear of waiting for that attack. Maybe because I went through some of that in hosting days, but I give you so much credit, and shout out to your guy. You keep saying, Mark, he's a bulldozer, man. Like, that guy is super smart and he understands the technology side, which is a big compliment to your team to try to navigate that, because you want to say you can build banking websites, you better be able to do it with the requirements involved to protect these businesses. Like you said, how much money? You said something like $52 billion worth of whatever. That's huge money.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the ICs listening to this, I know this podcast goes a lot of different places, but for the WSI family members that have made it 28 minutes into the conversation, and you're still with us, first off, thanks. But the thing that I think is important is, why are you laughing?
Because like, you're taking a shot. Like, I bring you on, you're probably going to get paid for coming on, even though I don't get paid, and you slight me.
I'm slighting us, dude.
We're talking to ourselves. There's no one listening.
Exactly.
Like, I put this on Work Vivo, and everybody's like, who gives a shit?
If we have to schedule a podcast every quarter, so we just get together and talk, and then we record it, and people are interested in our banter, then
absolutely,
I'm fine.
We're doing this for our own ego.
Where I was going is to my WSI family out there. The thing that, and we've decided not to venture outside of banking. I always thought, if I could serve banks, I could serve anybody, because banks have to deal with things like risk and protocols and security and policies and all these other sorts of things. I'm not interested in going and doing this outside of the world of banking. This is really my sweet spot and where I provide the most value. But if you can bring that mentality to your business, and you don't serve an industry that's highly regulated like I do, but add that extra layer of credibility on top, because most digital marketing agencies working with the businesses, the SMBs, probably aren't talking about this. And those businesses probably aren't thinking about a continuity plan or a business resumption plan or a crisis mitigation plan. They're not thinking about that until it happens. And then they're running around like their hair's on fire, and they're like, shit, what do I do? How do I react? And they say something wrong. Other people in the organization are reacting, making it worse. So if you can bring that to the table proactively and say, this is an extra layer of attention that we pay to our customers, you might not feel like you need it, but it is something that you deserve to have as a business, so that if something goes wrong, it's like insurance. You hope you never have to use it, but when something burns down or you get in a crash or you get sick, thank God you have it, because it's there to protect you. And I look back at the AI adoption roadmap that we built within WSI and the 4-phased approach. In the early stages of that, policy and guardrails and fundamentals and do's and don'ts were something that came later on in the process. And when I got involved in that discussion, we actually had some pretty good conversations and realized, no, that really needs to be discussed first. That needs to come up at the very beginning. And then we go into training, because we need to understand where the actual rails are for us to go and not to go. And so that's one of the great things that I love about the WSI network and the family of consultants like yourself and everybody else, is we're all here to give our input and give our thoughts And so many other people have been part of that AI roadmap process that it's, probably one of the best frameworks that I've seen. And I've been to a lot of conferences and talked a lot about AI to a lot of different people. And the framework that we've built, I've still yet to see a framework that goes toe to toe with what we've developed. And that's just one
Interesting.
example. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's all, and again, we're just, as Jack calls it, waffling on any going different directions. That's really the power of the network. And I say drink the Kool-Aid like I do, but
Yeah.
we're very big advocates of paying it forward. There have been mentors and people that have helped you grow your agency through the years, and so you are big on giving back to the network and giving back at, especially like conventions and stuff. You know how much of an advocate I am at convention, especially since they went to the resort model. But
Yeah.
you are always active there. You are never just a participant sitting in the back taking a photo saying, "Look at us." You are on the stage. You are doing. You do a lot of what I want to call it, like question and answer panels, where they'll just facilitate a collaboration between people. That's always been one thing I've noticed about you. Probably why I found you approachable. Again, going back to our history of just meeting you is, you're a big dude. What I mean by that is you block the sun when you walk, kind of thing, and you got this big, goatee all the time. And the one thing that stuck out with me is you're loud, meaning. Not necessarily voice, but you're expressive. You're very comfortable in your own skin. You walk in a room with your jeans and your floral, like. If anybody wants to pull you over at the airport for security and go through your luggage, like they're gonna question what you're actually. Oh, you're going to a conference, really? And you're like, yeah, really. These are all my shirts
Yeah.
because but that's you. If Eric shows up in like a white shirt with blue pinstripe, like buttoned, something's wrong. But
I'm a
that's
little conservative today, but I do have a new. So I'm a big fan of Robert Graham. That's the shirt that I normally wear. I've got some funky ones that aren't Robert Graham's, but
funky. That's a good word, funky.
Robert Graham is my shirt of preference. I love them. They got a cool
Robert Graham.
style. And when I left banking, a lot of coat and tie. I'm like, I do that once in a while when I have to, but otherwise, I did get this Robert Graham, like
Sweet.
multicolored skull. So
You love color, but like you can
it's
rock any
gray, but
color and you're just like any pattern and you're like, let's go. And I'm like does gray go with black? I'm like, tuck it in or leave it out. Like I'm so boring. And you're just like, yeah, here I'm.
I don't
Whoa.
have a too cool tiger on my shirt though. So that's
It's all right. I wear sweatshirts all the time. I was on another call with Denise Bowen and a couple of friends, and I'm like, I gotta run, guys. Love you. I got a call, and she's like, you're gonna wear that? I'm like, I'm sorry, I got a sweatshirt and a hoodie. And I'm like, why? She goes, it's a sales meeting. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'll like immediately get off. Like
I'll
Denise
go
just
get a big boy shirt on. Fine,
yeah, I
whatever.
put a big boy shirt. Go in the hoodie, and then Denise just saws me at the legs. Like, what else is new? But
Nice.
going back to like, let's talk for a moment because I want to talk about you went to Macon and
Yes.
we should definitely talk a little AI and I want to tie in SEO because that's what I went to.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something about your speaking, not necessarily in the banking sector, but more about how you're always someone on the stage at our events when you can make it. You're just so giving, and I would love to just hear from you because what keeps driving you 18, 19 years or whatever it is, Eric, to continue to be that person versus saying, I'm getting older, it's a young man's game, I'll let somebody else take that. And what I'm setting you up for is it's not ego with you. You just love it. Like you thrive off of that community concept of I can be the locomotive and I'll pull you behind me, but like just get on the bandwagon with me and let's go. That's how I see you. So is that just always been you, or have you found it within WSI and allowed that to mature with comfort?
Yeah.
Just help me understand, because that to me is like your greatest trait as a human is your ability to defuse an audience of people uncomfortable and make them laugh and just say like, let's go. And
Yeah.
I got big shoulders.
Um,
That's a compliment, by the way.
I appreciate
in a really
that.
random way.
Thank you.
Alicia's upstairs like, don't fill his head full of shit. Hi, Alicia.
Oh, that's funny. And speaking of being loud, yes, that's why I'm downstairs with the door shut and she's upstairs and she can still probably hear everything that I'm saying. So that's all right. Um, I don't know what it is. I think in a prior life, I should have been born as like a rock star that had musical talent that could entertain people legitimately with, fun stuff. I'm a big Metallica fan, and I caught an interview with James Hetfield on CBS. And, after 40 plus years, the guy doing the interview is like, what is it that gets you up there to get going and to continue to do this? And he had an answer that was kind of similar. It's like, I love getting up. I got the best seat in the house. I got the best job in the world, even though I don't think it's a job. And if I lock in and I connect with one person and I look in their eyes and they are getting an idea or a thought, in his mind, it's like they're enjoying the music, they're taking it in. He sees 3 generations. I'm nowhere near James Hetfield. I'm just going to make sure everybody knows that is not my intent of this analogy. But I really like, and it was the first time I got a chance to do this while I was still a banker. I was invited by the Michigan bankers to speak at the lending conference they had up in northern Michigan about our online mortgage application that we had installed. We were one of the first banks in the state to do online mortgage loans. And I really enjoyed being in front of a room full of competitors. Quite honestly, I was up there basically teaching everybody to do what we did, but I didn't care that I was talking to competitors. I wanted to share because I wanted to make the industry better. I wanted all of my fellow bankers to be better. And if, that meant the bank next community over ended up doing this and we've got a couple of fewer loans because of it, I was okay because the rising tide raises all boats and I wanted to rise that tide. And so when I go to a conference, when I get a chance to speak at a WSI event, I love being up sharing what I know. And fortunately, some of what I know is new to people or interesting. And when that stops happening, and I'll be honest, there was a period of time after the social media wave kind of died down a little bit, and everybody was like, yeah, we get it. Social media, we understand. I was questioning my relevance as a speaker. Like, nobody really gives a shit about Facebook strategies anymore or, talking about social media. Everybody gets it. Like, where's my next thing? And then AI came along and basically re-energized me and totally supercharged the battery and was like, this is the next wave. This is what people need to understand. Because in the early days of social media, every bank I talked to was like, we're not doing it. It's a reputation risk. It's a privacy risk. It's a security risk. It's a culture risk. Whatever risk, it's a risk. And now every bank has got a Facebook page. They're posting videos on Instagram Reels. Some of them have gone back to TikTok. They're doing videos on YouTube. They're training their lenders on ways to use LinkedIn to build relationships and establish subject matter expertise. So it's happening. And I'm telling that story now with bankers. And I just last week was at a conference and I had someone come up to me afterwards. I was out in Massachusetts and I asked the questions when I start off my AI sessions. How many of you have never used artificial intelligence? You don't have it on your phone. You've never gone to chatgpt.com. And I had 4 or 5 people in the audience raise their hand out of about 105 people. And I said, that's cool. You don't have to use it. You need to know that it's here. You might not ever want to drive a car, but if you don't think cars exist, it's going to be really weird living. And that's what you need to understand. And then I proceeded to just tell stories about how AI is changing business, changing people, changing life, changing work outside of the world of personally identifiable information and confidential stuff that gets everybody all freaked out, but just the things that it's doing to the way people are behaving and interacting with each other and themselves. Mm-hmm. And I saw one of the guys in the hallway afterwards and I recognized him and I saw, I'm like, so did I convince you? And he came up to me and he's like, I've heard probably a half a dozen presentations on artificial intelligence and all of them are like, blah, 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 blah. Yours was the first one that actually showed how it worked. I saw a video of it in action and I could understand why this is something that I probably should be paying more attention to. And I am going to investigate this and just try it out. And as a speaker, that's like cocaine right there. That's like, and I've never had cocaine for the record, but I
No,
would
but that's
imagine
the drug. That's the drug right there of
that's
what
the
your whole
drug. When
purpose was.
somebody's
Is you?
like
Yeah.
that moment where somebody's like, oh, or you look out in the audience and you say something that you think will be impactful, and somebody like immediately goes down and they write it down. And you may
Yes.
never hear from them. They might not come up to you afterwards, but you know, that's what really gets me excited. And I suspect that's what James was talking about when he looks out into the audience and he's riffing on his guitar and Lars is banging on the drums and he sees people that just have a smile on their face and they're just like, this might be the first Metallica concert that they've ever been to. They've listened to him for years. And that is a life-changing moment for someone at a very smaller scale. That's kind of where I think I get to play a role in the very small world of banking, in the very small world of the technology and the innovation areas that I like to talk about. And I
Well
can't
said.
even imagine the mind-blowing experience that it has at a Metallica level or an artist or a performer or an actor level. But for me, that really gets me going. And that's the reason why I continue to do it. It pulls me away from my wife and my dogs. It pulls me away from the lake. It pulls me away from my bike. And when it doesn't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze and I'm not getting that, then it's time to find something else. And I was getting really close to that as a speaker, feeling like, okay, where do I add value? Everybody knows this already. How do I add anything different? And now it's like, that's why I was on the road so much last year. Like it was pretty much from August until last week. Every week I was on the road at a conference,
That's
at an
crazy,
event, at a
man. Like you
school,
said, going back to
speaking.
the universe, no wonder something had to say,
It was
"Hey,
nuts. So yeah, that's why the
no,
universe kicked my ass and said, "Oh, I'm going to snap your hamstring and make you slow down a little bit and contemplate the meaning of life
now
and what's
Alicia's like,
important."
I'll snap your other hamstring if you don't get the
She'll
out
snap
of
more than
the
that.
house."
But yeah, like my neck probably. But
It's funny how you reflect on what speaking does for you, or like you said, that kind of hint that you'll see from somebody that's the juice, the drug, whatever.
yeah,
For me, with speaking, I don't speak like you, meaning volume, stage size, whatever. I've done a handful of things primarily within the WSI network when asked in the last couple of years. But where I'm going with that is, for me, it's almost validation that I know what I'm talking about, because I have very like low self worth and self like confidence, in the sense of like exactly what you said. Does the shit that comes out of my mouth that
yeah,
people actually sit there and go, "This guy's a clown," where's the red nose again, like we said at the beginning. And then you
yep,
get up there, and exactly that is, you don't want the standing ovation, even though that's a nice moment if it happens. But it's the person that writes feverishly down something off one of your slides. It's the person that
yeah,
is nodding at a certain thing you say. It allows you just to recharge your battery and take it a different direction when you think you're flat or you're not at the cadence you want. So I need that in those moments. And then,
yeah,
like, I'm part of the WSI buddy system, and so forth. And I got a gentleman that's been meeting with me and building some nice rapport. And he gets in a session with me. He's like, dude, he goes, your open forum session, he goes, was like unreal. And I'm sitting there going like, really? But like, to someone else, it was like, wow, like, how do you do that and whatever else? So my point being is, it's giving back, giving that knowledge, but also being that mentor or being that leader. Because again, right, like everybody in WSI that's been there for quite some time, you grew up in the environment of others helping others. That's the foundational alliance that we have. You didn't get to where you are without the Neil Lappies, the Chuck Bankoffs, the Doug Schusts, Peter Wisniewski. I'm missing so many people from back in the day, but all of those people contributed to each and everybody getting the knowledge you have now.
yeah,
And we have a duty to almost extend that when Francois and Peter and Doug formally retire and say, I've had enough based on age and life and health.
Yep.
We've got to extend that, because who's the next people that are going to be the Eric Cook? You're not going to be doing this forever. Like you said, you're going to wait to see where your fire is. But
Yeah.
like you said, you're 55. Maybe you do want to sit out on the lake and do nothing at 60 onwards because you've had a successful career. But you know what I mean? Like, that would be a huge loss to us
Yeah.
not having you. But the clock is ticking, right, on everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you
And you're
go
going to
back.
need new people with AI and stuff. But all those people have to shake up the ecosystem and say, we're the people that can bring the next generation of stuff into this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the real power of the network.
Yep. And you made a point earlier, I'm going to go back to, the validation is, I think, a good point. And the word that jumped into my head when you said that is, imposter syndrome. Like, somebody's
Big
going to
time.
figure me out. Like, I've been doing this for 17, 18, 19 years. And it's like, when Alicia runs the numbers and we look at the customer list and we have our meetings, I just kind of sometimes sit back and I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, how do all of these banks trust us and trust me? And I know that they do for a reason, because 32 years of combined experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That wouldn't happen just because, but it's a natural thing. I know you experience it. I experience it. Sometimes we don't talk a lot about it, but for any other ICs that are out there that are like, I don't really know everything. I don't know. That imposter syndrome is a reality that I think everybody in the network faces. And that was one of the really cool things. If I go way back to 2007, when I was sitting in training, and you already mentioned his name once, but Doug Shust rolls in with his frickin' Madison Ave suit and his big old portfolio case. And he rolls up and he like shows this portfolio of all these things that he's done and the projects that he's created. Everybody's like, yeah, that's great, but that's you, dude. And he said, no, this is us. Like, we are here together. And so that imposter syndrome, I think, gets mitigated and pushed down very easily in my mind. Because if I get somebody that asks me a question about something that I'm not familiar with, I know there's someone in the network. And how many times have I, like, dude, I don't know shit about WordPress, and I call you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does this work? What happens? I got a bank that's on WordPress. I need it hosted for a temp until I can get them over on a DNN. I would have no knowledge of how to do that myself, but I'm very confident knowing I've got people like you and others in the network that I can lean on. So even though I still don't know it, I know people that do know it. And being part of the world's largest digital agency network, and this is going to be a little bit of a WSI promo here, but it should be, that says something. And I love that. And I know that that gives me strength when I go in and talk to folks. And I want everybody to know that that should give you strength as well when you're talking to folks, because not just Mike and myself, but you've got a whole, and I say WSI family all the time for a reason, because I think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that will help kind of beat down that, imposter syndrome and all of the stuff that I'm talking about from an AI perspective, Robert and Seamus and Kundan, and the things that they've taught me as part of the AI process and the things that I've learned, I'm turning that into material for the banking industry, and wouldn't be possible if I didn't have that behind me. The presentations, the engagements that we've landed, the preliminary assessments that we've delivered, the genius tools that make our job so much freaking easier and blow people's minds. That is a really nice arrow to have in your quiver. Like,
Absolutely. And I,
people,
I always like to say to people when they say, "Tom, what's WSI?" or, this, that, and whatever else, I say to them, it's like, we have the ability so that, you don't have to navigate the ocean by yourself.
yeah,
And I do firmly believe in that. And you can take that, subjectively how you want, whether that's suppliers, whether that's partners. But like Eric just said, he's come to me because of my WordPress background and said, I got two clients at different stages that one needed really severe DNS help and just some security and hosting on a stable environment. They're all iffy. Another one was an absolute mess to move over, but we got it done together within a week, and the client was just thrilled that support was there, and even said to me through Eric, they're just like, we didn't even feel you guys were doing anything, because that's what they're afraid of, is the uptime disconnect, and
we
how
often refer to that as making sausage. You just don't want to see what's going on behind the scenes. But we're like, we're going to serve up some tasty sausage today, man. Mark and I do that all the time.
Those are some of the funnest jobs, because you don't worry about the issues you had doing them. You don't worry. We had issues on both of those. Don't worry about the long night on one, working with Mark on another one. But it was fun because you're collaborating and you're achieving the end game, which is, Mike, I need your help here to establish and stabilize where I'm at in my proposal, the next steps of Mark being able to come in and build this new website. But this is a pivotal stage. My job there is, I got to make Eric look good. He brought me in saying, this is the guy to do something. I better execute, because that allows him to take that into marketing and take it into other stuff. What's that?
I said, or I'm not going to get on your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You blow up this banking WordPress website. I'm never coming on your stupid podcast ever again.